According to the webpage Fanocracy, the most powerful marketing force in the world is not social media, email blasts, search ads, or even those 15-second commercials before a YouTube video. It's a fandom. And the good news, fandom is not just for celebrities anymore. It can be rocket full for any kind of business or non-profit organization that choose to focus on inspiring and nurturing true fans. Fanocracy means turning fans into customers and customers into fans. Fanocracy means an organization that puts the needs and wishes of fans ahead of every other priority. Hello everyone, I am JC Giraldo here in Boston, Massachusetts. I'm here at Brookline Booksmith in Coolidge Corner, a very nice indie bookstore, with David Meerman Scott and his daughter Reiko Scott, because they just launched their new book, Fanocracy. And we're going to talk a little bit about the book and other things. First question, David, how was Fanocracy born? Or what inspired you guys to start to write in this very cool book? Okay, yeah, Reiko, your dad say that.
Well, this is funny because you'll hear this later, but we were on a car ride. My dad was taking me on a car ride, and he was saying, like, yeah, I have this idea for a book about fan culture, and so we just kind of were talking about what we were a fan of. He was talking about the Grateful Dead and going to all these concerts, and then I was talking about Harry Potter and how I grew up with it and these books, and so we were talking for a while. He said he was going to write this book, and then he came to me with a few early drafts of things that I was a fan of, and I realized, oh no, I can't let you talk about Comic-Con. I have to be writing this stuff. So that's how that came about.
And then so I said, oh my gosh, what a good idea. Would you like to help write this book with me? Shall we be co-authors? And so we said, sure. And that was a pretty long time ago. It was like 4 or 5 years ago. And so then we just started to research and write together. And it was really fun because, you know, obviously there were different generations and different genders, but we have different fandoms. We're fans of different things, and
exactly,
and different backgrounds. In that, you know, Reiko did a neuroscience degree, and she's in medical school, so there's sort of a scientific background to it, which is really interesting.
David, now before this conversation, I asked you how long take this book. You told me 4 years each. But you told me something very interesting, that I read all your books pretty much, you know, about the moon as well, that you are so fan. And you told me that the book means a lot to you because it's your daughter as well.
Well, there's a few reasons why I think this is my best book. The first reason, of course, it's with Reiko. It's great because it's not just me, and it's two very different people. The second thing that's great is that, and you know this, the online world, when we first started, you and I first started talking about the online world, was new and exciting, and it was all about connecting with people. But in many ways, the online world has become cold and dark.
Exactly.
And it's very hard to communicate. The social networks actually optimize for profit now, not for connecting with friends. And it's not going away, but I think now people are really focused on a true human connection, and that's something that we explored in this book, Fanocracy, this true human connection. And when you're a fan of something, have this strong connection. So for that reason, I think, it's now the very beginning of a new decade, the decade of the 2020s, and this is a very important time. And this book is coming out at an absolutely perfect time, right now in the very beginning of a new decade.
Yeah. You know, this Sunday, your dad posted a video on Facebook. And something that very interesting, that your dad mentioned millennials and also mentioned the diversity. You know, he said, no, Dad, this. And tell me, why it is so important in this book mention something about diversity, about millennials? You are millennial-ish, right?
Yeah, I am a millennial. And I think we have a very different outlook on what diversity means. It's not. It's something that. So I'm half Asian. My mom is Japanese,
Correct.
and I was born in Tokyo.
I'm Latino.
Yeah. So
that is Dutch.
and so I come from, even if we are family, I come from a very different background than him.
Right.
And that perspective of what voices aren't often heard, what voices are not necessarily covered in something like a business book, but also in fan culture, what things are people excited about, and it tends to be different depending on who you are, you know? Something that everyone is excited about now is Hamilton, the musical. And that's so important because it's a race-bent version of American history. And so it's not just commenting on history that happened, but also with a new spin of what's important to current day America, which is that diversity.
Exactly. Well, this country, the world, is in general a lot of diversity. Before finish this conversation, I have to tell you guys that I read the first chapter online in Fanocracy.com, and I like the way that you start talking about in 2007 when you met the founders of HubSpot, and you met with one doctor that he liked poetry, right? Please, briefly, could you share this, or what you want to?
So the first time I met Brian Halligan, the CEO of HubSpot, it was because I opened up my computer and I had some stickers on the computer. Yep. And one of the stickers was a Grateful Dead sticker. And he goes, "Wow, you're a Grateful Dead fan too?" And I go, "Yeah, I love the Grateful Dead. I've been to a whole bunch of concerts." And he said, "I love them too. They're my favorite band." And that we became immediate friends in the first minute that we met, just because of a sticker on a computer. It was really, really interesting. And he invited me to join the HubSpot advisory board right then. It was because we shared the same fandom. And it was outside of work. But still, that human connection, that bond we had, we're part of the same tribe, was really, really important.
Sometimes there are things that came up, and tell about the doctor. You were like nervous before, and he said something about poetry. And boom.
So I was meeting with Dr. Raza, who was my my advisor for about 2 years when I was at Columbia, and I was nervous because I was new to this kind of lab, and I had kind of different experiences in lab settings before, but the first thing we talked about was poetry. She had all these books up on the walls, and it had nothing to do with the work that I was actually doing, but it made her human, and we talked about literature together, and so we had that connection going forward when I was doing work with her. So.
Exactly, and something in common, and it's like a storytelling, both of you. David, Reiko, thank you for your time. I know we are busy right now. You are almost, and you too. David, where the people can find? I ordered the book. It's coming on Amazon.
Excellent.
But where people can, if we can reach you?
So we have a website at www.fanocracy.com. Lots of free information on there. There's videos and there's things you can download. On the social networks, I'm DM Scott, DMSCOTT, and Reiko is Allison, ALLISON _ Reiko, REIKO.
Perfect. Reiko, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm Jesse Giraldo in Boston, Massachusetts. Thank you so much.